All right, let's call the meeting. May 20th, 2019. Welcome, everybody. I entertain a motion to adopt the minutes of April 24th. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion?
I'll second it, but should it say as
As correct.
manually corrected?
Sure. So somebody's got changed.
Oh, did I miss somebody?
All the somebodies are in there.
Oh,
Mr. Somebody and Mrs. Somebody.
no, I thought, I sat there and I edited all that, and then I must not have put save on there or something. Cause I did type it all in, whatever, okay, yeah, thanks. Maybe I said it's,
So there was a second? You seconded?
Yes.
Any
As
other-
amended,
just
yes.
As amended.
mhm.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we vote, please?
Mr. Crockett,
Yes.
Mr. Beecher,
Yes.
Mr. Hollister,
Yes.
Actually, those were the May 6th minutes, so we just moved and adopted those. So I need a motion to adopt April 24th.
The special
Special-
meeting,
special meeting.
I move adoption of the April 24th special meeting.
Is there a second?
Can I,
You was not
Second.
there.
You certainly can. Oh, were you there?
no,
Okay, I'll second it. I forgot you weren't there. Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we vote, please?
Mr. Crockett, oh, wait, no, never mind, take that back. Mr. Hollister,
Yes.
Mr. Beecher,
Yes. Is that the block? Or no?
it's Matthew.
I'm a visitor. I came to see you. I called you, you never returned my phone.
Out of order, sir.
I didn't.
sorry, who?
It's not fine.
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah, you had a howdy earlier, but shut up.
All right, we'll continue. Motion, we need a motion to approve the payment of bills in the amount of $41,367.50, broken down general fund, $7,783.78, fire fund, $16,215.28, cemetery fund, $561.68, EMS billing, $11,251.17, road and bridge, $2,845.31, capital project, $2,710.28. Is there a motion?
I move to approve payment of these bills.
Okay.
And I will second that.
Okay, I have one little piece of discussion. We need
Okay.
to review Eamon's invoice. His labor charge doesn't add up.
To his parts charge?
No, to the charge for the labor. I mean, there's like 7 or 8 different categories of labor, and they're about $150 less than what he got down for labor, so figure out why.
So we'll give him a call.
Okay.
So
So
Eamon's.
everything but that?
Mm.
Yeah, I guess, that's under review.
I alter my motion. Payment, exception of
For review.
the maintenance, truck maintenance, whatever, bill for review.
Okay.
All right.
You seconding the revised motion?
Mhm.
Okay. No further discussion, may we vote, please?
Mr. Crockett, Mr. Beecher,
Yes.
Mr. Hollister,
Yes.
Thank you. Marty, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I'm here to talk about two things. I'm wearing kind of a state of Ohio hat and also a federal government hat tonight. The state of Ohio hat is the new driver's license law that's in effect for Ohio. And I have a handout that talks about the two different kinds of licenses. The standard and the compliant one.
Yes, please. Get it.
And I want to first say they're both the same cost, so there shouldn't be a discrepancy there. But the compliant driver's license will get you into a federal building and also through TSA as you check in without an additional piece of identification. So if you get the standard driver's license, you go to check in for your flight and they'll ask for this, they'll see that it doesn't have that little star on there, which means it's gone through a database, and you'll need to show another piece of identification, which can be a birth certificate or a passport. If you just fly to Florida and you have a compliant, that's sufficient for everything. So, the difference is what you need to show to get the driver's license. It used to be just take your old license in, maybe a birth certificate, but now they wanna see your driver's license, old one that you're renewing, a birth certificate, a social security card, not just a copy, but the card, and two proofs of residency, which is just a utility bill and something, anything that's mailed to you. And your birth certificate will show your date of birth. So it requires those documents. And the social security, basically one proof of residency for the standard license. So there's a little bit of difference, but if you're going to get the license, just get the compliant one. I mean, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that effective October of 2020, which is about a year and a half away, all of the driver's licenses will be this new format. If your license expires like mine does, in July of 2020, I'll be there, but if it doesn't expire until November 2020, you'll be getting it renewed anyway. They just passed this in Ohio about a year ago. So, any questions on this? Yes, sir.
If I have a passport, will that cover everything?
Yes,
Okay,
right, yeah,
good.
you'll need a passport, social security card, because there's no social security number on your passport. Proof of residency, and your date of birth, of course, will be on your passport, but yes, and your expired driver's license. The one difference,
So it doesn't cover everything.
No, it
so
doesn't.
not everything,
hoping,
but
yeah.
not a birth certificate.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to
Oh.
have that, you either or, but proof of your citizenship is paramount, so passport will cover that.
Okay.
Now, I
Concealed carry? No.
well, it's a photo ID, but that doesn't have information on it either. When you walk out, you will not walk out with your new license. They will give you a letter saying that you've renewed it, you get your old driver's license back, and if in fact you have to show your driver's license, you show them the old one plus the letter for 2 weeks.
They're gonna print all this out.
For 2
for you.
weeks. Pardon me?
They're gonna print out, send us a letter.
Well, they give you a letter when you renew it, your driver's license.
I'm supposed to remember all this stuff for
Well,
3
that's
years?
what this
Well,
is, that's what
why you
this
have
is.
that.
Oh, it's on the back?
No,
Oh,
but,
here it is, okay.
yeah, it gives you everything that you need.
Does the passport need to be current?
Yes, yes.
Have you run into the question, and I heard this the very first time they talked about the driver's license, that some people, in my family circumstance, is my wife has nothing in her name, no utilities. So this proof of residence is gonna be problematic for her unless we change
Does she,
those things.
you know, like my husband doesn't either. He had a stock portfolio notification, healthcare card that he got. We took that, I got mine, I'm a quilter, so I had a membership in the quilt society, so I had my membership card. That was in my name to show that that was addressed to me,
Oh.
so.
Okay, so it didn't have to be
It
utilities.
doesn't have to be
Okay,
utilities,
I
just
understand.
anything mailed to you, like
Uh-huh.
if you're on the board of the Dayton Contemporary Dance Company and you get a program, then that would be sufficient. Just something that's mailed to you at your
Okay,
residence.
I understand now.
That's
Okay,
what they're
I
trying to
understand.
demonstrate,
Yeah.
that Chris lives at this address,
Mhm.
and
So-
your wife lives at this address.
I've been very careful to do everything through a post box. Is that gonna be a problem? It's
It might
Ohio.
be, because that's not how you vote for, like, your voter's registration card, I think
I
would
have that.
be sufficient. And that wouldn't have a P.O. box. So-
I'm sure I can find somebody else.
Now, there are questions, you know, there's a website on there if you have questions.
Either one lists the, passport as a
Well, your
document.
passport would be your birth certificate in lieu of a birth certificate that would show
Oh.
your full legal
But it
name.
has to be but the passport has to be up to date.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, mine is, yeah.
and then your date of birth.
So if I have a passport, but it's not up to date, but I have my birth certificate.
That's fine, just
Okay.
take that, yeah, either or.
And I don't really have to, nobody really has to deal with this until it's time to renew.
That's correct,
Okay.
yes, we're not going to,
Nancy McNally,
Comply.
interrupting, so you have to write anything down. I don't know if you remember or
Uh,
not. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
and I just have one more, the Social Security Administration has sent this through the Office of the Inspector General. It's a scam, and there is a telephone number posted, on there that you can reach out and pass it over, that you can call to the OIG fraud hotline. This is a fraudulent call, and, I will tell you that the toll-free number is a little bit difficult to get a hold of. People have had difficulty. If you're really persistent and have time to kind of wait, then do that. But the message that you need to kind of disperse throughout the community is that Social Security and IRS will never call you on the phone.
Okay.
And they will send everything in writing unless you have reached out personally to Social Security and you're expecting a call back from them. They will not call you.
Can we call the Attorney General too if we get frustrated?
Well, you call this number, the fraud
I saw
hotline.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the number.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you that the gentleman that was 102 years old that called our office and said that the only reason he didn't give his social security number to the person calling on this fraud scam call was because he couldn't remember. So I just want to say that the senior population is the most vulnerable. So we're gonna get this to the senior housing centers and,
Talking to you guys.
no.
You're not senior, are you?
Nope.
But,
Oh, I am
but
too.
senior
Oh, we
citizens
all-
get confused because they say your benefits are going to be impacted, we need to get your social security number just to verify. And it just scares me to death that people get confused, I mean, and so,
It's not innocent.
Well, I just never learned my social security number,
there you go.
so.
Well, the social security will never ask you for your
There
social
it is right
security
there.
number
So
online,
you could get your license.
so.
Well, thank you, Marty.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your time, and,
Have a pleasant journey to Warren County.
I will.
You
And,
headed to the Golden Lamb, are you?
no, I live in Warren County,
Oh, I
so I do not like 675 to, I like the scenic route. I prefer the 42 is my favorite road. 42 and 35, they're the best, yeah. So,
How many miles a year you drive?
oh gosh, because I cover Fayette County too, and that's always 100, whenever I go out there, which is probably once a week. So a lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
See those David Stokes?
Pardon me?
You know David Stokes? Used to be the head of solid waste for Warren County, now she's ours in Green County. Okay, I was just
Yeah,
curious.
I don't know. Okay, well, call
Thank
me at the congressional office. I wasn't there today, but I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay.
And,
We'll give you a call.
If you
Yeah.
have any questions, if you
Marty?
need anything.
Make sure you're in.
Yes, oh
It's
yeah.
8:03.
I know.
We would like a line item for a firehouse.
Oh, well, they don't do line items anymore. But I'll put the word in, I'll put that on my weekly report. That's what I hear. Do you guys, have you heard any about that solar thing going through
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Is it impacting Miami Township?
Don and I went to a meeting on it last Friday.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are a few hundred acres in Miami Township that are targeted.
Supposedly they've got leases either recorded or unrecorded for just under 2,000 acres.
200 or 2,000? Wow. That's a lot.
You did a lot.
The problem is that, you know, regulatory, once you have ag property, we talked about that, it's not a whole lot you can do.
Really, the only thing they're missing now is the full easement for the power line to go,
Okay.
to connect everything together. To get, there's a few people that don't wanna grant that easement through their property, but
Okay.
they're probably gonna be able to figure that out, so who
Well, they
knows?
can use road right of way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But drainage may get complicated.
well, that's an issue too.
Mhm.
Okay, we don't need another little Miami River. Okay, y'all have a nice evening.
care, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, we'll return to the agenda. Correspondence briefly, Ohio Township News Magazine, RPCC Executive Committee meeting for tomorrow, MTFR conference call minutes from the 8th and the 15th. A quick question from Allied Construction about the RFQ information. Who was awarded to, if they want to know. The artist rendering of the Wise Kids Playhouse trailer, OTA's May 17th legislative alert, Green County road closure information, and there are a few Miami Township roads on there, you might just check them out. Bob Gar's retirement celebration, open house next, is it Wednesday, did we decide? EPA Citizens Advisor about Class B biosolid construction in Bath Township. Copies of letters dated April 8th and May 10th. From zoning inspector Zoff regarding the agrarian property. I guess both of those went to Laura Perlis, I think, I'm not sure. Invitation for information sharing meeting about the solar farm, we just discussed that. Clifton Union Cemetery basic audit report, we'll probably hear something about that in the other part of the meeting. Ohio Cemetery Association newsletter, ICMA National Survey request, Apple Farm Service. But local government appreciation days, every day's local government appreciation day. Fund status, revenue status, and appropriation status for today. Any further correspondence? Okay, welcome to the fire department report. We have no fire chief this evening. But the only couple of things that I had for, to report was, I feel like we should put the renewal levy on the ballot for the fire department in the spring, or not spring, well, it's actually probably winter, March. I'm not sure it's technically spring or not, but because next year's primary will be early because it's a presidential year. So, and it will also be be a decent turnout for a levy. I don't think the schools are gonna get their construction program up to the point of, going on the ballot quite by then. Between turnover in superintendent and they're gonna have to turn over a few positions this fall for school board. So I think that would be a good time to do it, and I think we need to do it as a renewal and not a replacement. Keep in mind, if we do it as a renewal, we don't lose the homestead exemption funds that we would if we made it a replacement, because remember that was changed by the legislature a few years ago. That was one of Kasig's grand money cost-saving deals, where if you changed it to replacement, then the state would not recoup that money that comes back to us.
Because generally a replacement would indicate that you're gonna ask for more money.
Right.
Yeah. And you said in March, was it?
I believe March.
Well, the primary's in March, but we would have to file papers
Mhm.
in
December, I think,
December.
yeah. So it's something we need to address this fall.
And we probably ought to do it a couple months early in case there's errors.
Yeah.
So probably around Labor Day, get that fired up. We had a conference call last Wednesday, as I said, I didn't get a chance to participate in it, but I did get a report on it, and some of the projects that I probably should have spoke up before, but I'll go over those very briefly. have been submitted for re-engineering and estimating the cost, so we can kind of run a priority list of, how much we need to save and how badly we wanna.
This is the new firehouse report.
Oh, that's right, new firehouse report now.
Oh,
How much we wanna save and, versus how badly we wanna have urinals in the bathroom. Talk about cutting out, what can I say? It's a big item. Wasn't a big item, but,
That makes it a gender neutral bathroom.
yeah, and that's what we're gonna end up doing. So there's consideration of quite a few smaller items, and briefly, they are the aforementioned urinals, different design of toilets, changing the basic design of fixtures to a lower grade, and adding more manufacturers for competitive costs. Utilizing a residential as opposed to a commercial water softener, reducing the width of the trench drains, that's the drains in the apparatus bays, that are spec'd at 12 inches, and reduce them to 6. Using PEX when possible for plumbing, water lines. Potentially eliminating the commercial grade grease fan in the kitchen to a residential, but it's a mighty fancy residential, but still, it would be less expensive. A different kind of construction for the storm shelter. It's now being moved, as you recall, from the inside of the building to the back of the building where the fitness room and water room would be. Use a complementary colored brick instead of the cast stone along the perimeter of the base of the building. We're gonna reduce the building. None of these things are going to be done, these are all potential, these are things that have been thought that they could save money, and so we're gonna look at the possibility of doing these, and then, when we know how much it's gonna be, we'll reduce the height of the building by 2 feet, all the way around. Eliminate the thin brick on the parapet, reduce load-bearing masonry, eliminate the tall parapets over the storm shelter. We can bring those down to approximately 4 feet from 7 feet. Change the heating and air conditioning system from a single unit with a boiler and 13 different what do they call this? Zones, yeah, 13 different zones in the building to 5 individual furnaces and 5 zones. We can't reduce the fire, we can't remove the fire pump now, we've said that. Small things, we're gonna eliminate some inverters on the exterior lighting and change one of the pole lights. We're gonna reduce the paving, they're not gonna take an additional access to Marshall Street that we had. We're gonna remove that and go from thickness of the concrete on the apron from 10 inches to 8. Because we're not gonna do the roof monitors because of the price, the skylight gizmos, there's a lot of expensive structure inside the building meant to support those up in the roof and the ceiling. And so that can all be eliminated and just put, basically pre-made metal trusses in its place. Reduce storm shelter roof openings, I'm not sure about that. Specify an additional overhead door manufacturer. The man from WDC, Jason Funberg, had made a request for a quote from one of the suppliers he uses a lot, and his quote came in approximately half the price of what the MSA estimator had. It was, MSA estimated at 98,000, and this company was gonna supply it for 52,000. I had that on there, I guess I don't. So anyway, when we get those numbers, and as I say, I just don't think we're gonna get those by Wednesday, but I'll check tomorrow and see if they're gonna have enough to make it worthwhile to meet.
Medic 81, Rescue 81, respond to 343 Union Street, 343 Union Street,
Yeah.
Congress Center Street, 32 male,
I think they went back from the last accident. So, anything else for the new firehouse?
Nope.
I had an exciting idea about groundbreaking, but I'm gonna have to wait until Colin gets here, so he doesn't miss out on the
Excitement.
excitement. I don't think there's anything else. That's everything, yeah. I went to an interesting meeting sponsored by the chamber last week on social media policy. And as we've experienced in the last few months about social media, there's some questions that I would like to put to the chief about their social media policy and their social media policy training that they have. He said they have it in-house, so I was gonna ask him what it was consisted of. Cemetery Road Administrator is not with us this evening. I did talk to him earlier, and he reported that they had one interment of a set of ashes last week. And other than doing a lot of weeding in Clifton Cemetery, and we'll mow it tomorrow, or start to mow it tomorrow, it generally takes a day and a half. It'll be ready for Memorial Day. The band, I guess, is tuning up. Would you do me a favor?
Yeah, just close it all like this.
I have a road question,
Yes, sir.
which is probably detailed in the engineer's report. It was in correspondence, but how long is the Grinnell Road Bridge scheduled to be closed?
A week.
A week?
I think it's just a week.
Is it just one?
Well, I know we open it every day at 3. So it's closed in the morning, and then it's open by 3 o'clock, because that's their work day. But I think it is in there. I think it was just a week.
No,
It would help to publish, maybe get that in the newspaper.
Well, by then it's gonna be about over, but I think it's just a week. You know, it'll hit,
It'll be out
it'll be in the
Thursday.
paper Thursday, and it's, well, it's over with on Friday, I think.
So,
Well, I got a call complaining about it.
No, because I didn't know about it on here.
Where's your trailer?
The other road closures were, they weren't talking about this one, the one at the Grinnell one. The one you're looking at today's correspondence, it was one for, Cedarville,
Wolfhorse,
yeah.
Wolfhorse Clifton Road, wasn't it?
Yeah, and, hang on, whatever, those other roads.
Those other ones.
Well, I'll look it up,
Alrighty.
thanks.
Fiscal officer.
I have no report. Okay, well, you have a report on, the change in our revenues?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, well, the change in the revenues, as Chairperson Mucher had requested that I look at our revenues, numbers expected for this year for the fire department. And, he was suspect of one line item individual, in particular, which totaled, $67,000. And, I had a couple conversations with the county auditor's office, and Mr. Mucher was correct in that that was not the correct number. And so we reduced the expected revenues for, 2019 by $60,000. But, the good news is we're still, in the pink, so, but that's been corrected and it's reflected on the revenue status, report for this meeting.
Would you remind me the account number?
It was 2191 at the fire department, and then it was the
Malappropriation
bottom
of the
line, under revenue status report, it's like, yeah, that short page, yeah.
That's 29,
Yeah, so,
the very last line.
page 3, yeah, it used to say 67,500, and you can see then the other line item, other intergovernmental was 67,250, and so that kind of, was the red flag, there was 2 67s in there. Anyway, it's just 67, it just says 7,500, the bottom line in 2191, as far as a resource. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the change that was made.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess, Dawn, maybe you wanna mention that the cemetery, Clifton Cemetery was audited? Under cemetery report?
All right. Are we
Or
down to?
Or under-
You
under
just, I
standing
mean, that's
committee?
pretty much the report.
Can you stand in committees, how's that?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Are we now on standing committees?
Yeah.
You're skipping all the others?
No,
No,
well,
Okay.
Yeah, no,
neither
yeah.
was went to MVRPC,
Uh,
so
I,
you can have the floor for Clifton.
well, it really almost wasn't an audit report. Everything was fine except it was so many days past the date.
right, and I had a really good reason for that.
It was, so the wording of the letter was along the lines of, we'll see what happens. You know, like there was no real threat or.
I did ask the auditor, the person who came in to audit, what that meant and if there was a fine for that late filing. And he said, sometimes, he goes, generally, he said they just waive it. So, I mean, but it hasn't been actually posted, officially with the state, so we're not out of the woods yet, so to speak, but he said basically it's, that's what he said.
I was startled that the auditor's office audits small cemeteries.
Very small, yeah, I know, it was,
Yeah.
it took him about,
They
it took
all
him, probably 2 hours tops.
And it's, to me, it's technically not a government, it's an independent, so is, for instance, the Grinnell Cemetery audit, is,
Well, Glen Forest is just as routine,
It's part of
part of
us.
our audit, I mean,
Yeah.
it's part of the total audit.
nonprofit organizations can pay an auditor, but it's a private auditor.
Well, but we, but the
Church
Miami Township was
cemeteries.
responsible for Clifton Cemetery, partially. And so we pay money, we pay salaries, and, Yeah.
Well, I'm learning.
I have a question probably called that. Am I allowed to speak now or should I wait till the end of it?
Technically, you're never allowed to speak,
No.
but
Yeah.
if you'd like to,
You're
I-
always-
This is regarding the cemetery.
I think the board would allow a brief question.
My dad and mom were to be buried in Clifton Cemetery. My mom remarried. Her remains are in Clark County. So I've got a plot and I would like some kind of letter saying that we're aware this is now the property of Matthew McNally.
Well, you'd
You
have
mean
to
you
take
went
that
your-
with the
the
Clifton
deed?
Cemetery Board.
you want the deed, the
That's-
name,
Yeah,
the name on the
Yeah.
deed changed, is that what you're saying?
right, yeah,
Well, I'll look into it.
yeah.
You've mentioned this, but
I-
you've never mentioned it that way.
Well,
You
and.
just said you want a confirmation that you want.
Yeah, I want confirmation, but that's the kind of confirmation I'm looking for.
Okay.
Because if I don't use it, then niece and nephew and, whatever, and whoever, because, your old dad's laying there all by himself, and,
How do you spell your last name, please?
MC and E It's like Kelly, only with an N.
Oh, Nellie,
Yeah.
McNelly, okay, got it, thank you,
Mhm. 2 T's and Matthew.
got it.
Okay, I'll try.
Did you have anything,
Nothing else on the cemetery.
okay, would you add the Green County Complete Census Committee to the standing committee reports? Because it's going to be active for the next year
Green
plus,
County,
year and a half.
did you say
maybe.
complete census?
Complete Census Committee.
Okay,
Which will have its first meeting next week.
Oh,
has
yeah.
somebody been appointed to that?
Don has.
Okay. Well then,
Mark, did you attend any Economic Sustainability Commission meetings?
No, I did not.
Okay. Any senior citizen projects or meetings regarding that?
The senior housing project was denied. Emily says that she's still optimistic, waiting to see what the new criteria is. And we scored quite highly. I believe that our score was a perfect score.
Can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
So why was it turned down?
I'm assuming that they just ran out of resources.
Well, that's a good reason then. You don't have the money. Huh. Well, always next time.
They said in the paper that they would just reapply.
I don't, as I said, we didn't meet with MERPC and regional planning is tomorrow. The mill, I've asked for an estimate to seal coat the roof, to silver coat it, I guess they call that, and I haven't received that yet, so that's coming up. So, any new business? Any old business? It's so quiet in here.
You told me to shut up.
It didn't get quiet, did it? I would then entertain a motion to adjourn. Not in record time, but
I so move.
I'll second
moved in second, it is official.
So now I can talk?
it.
Susan Cameron. Susan Cameron's on.
Correct.